Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us. It is not Monday, but I am on LinkedIn Live yapping about scoring tools in HubSpot anyway. Today, welcome to an unboxing of HubSpot scoring tools. I am Casey Hawkins. I talk a lot about lead scoring. I'm here with Chris, Value First HubSpot coach, and then our two very special guests today. First is Renu Kumar. He is the product manager for health scoring, and then Melody Cook, who is the product manager for the lead scoring app. How is everyone doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for letting us be here today.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining. Also in the pre-show, I already told Melody that she is on a circuit right now because she will be at the Admin Hug. Is it next week?
Next, I think Tuesday, March 3rd with Kyle Jepson. Yeah.
So if you are watching this before March 3rd, definitely go check that out, RSVP, and join Melody for more insights and everything like that. And I'll just think of this as our preview too.
A little practice run.
A little practice run.
I love it.
If you have any questions about scoring, feel free to drop them in the comments here, or DM any of us, and we would be happy to help point you in the right direction. A little bit, maybe to start, just talking a bit about scoring in HubSpot in general. So there are two scoring tools in HubSpot. There is the lead scoring tool and then the health scoring tool. Lead scoring lives in Marketing Hub and Sales Hub, correct? And then,
yes.
And then the customer health scoring is a Service Hub feature, correct? But structurally, they work pretty similar. So the real distinction is at this point is really around like the hubs and the hubs and which you're referencing and inside of what data you are referencing. Is that kind of the biggest piece?
Yeah, I think it's also the type of user using it. I think of it as like marketing and sales folks using lead scoring, and maybe customer success is using health scoring more, and then the objects that you want to score on.
I know the data tends to be the same that you can reference in each one. If someone is like, I am looking to build a score in HubSpot, which, I mean, to go back a year in time, it was a property that you would set up, but now there are these two more advanced tools to do that. So if someone is like, hey, I want to build a score in HubSpot, what questions would you ask to determine where they should build this, whether that's in lead scoring or health scoring?
Yeah, I think it's dependent on the sort of like the life cycle stage. So if you have a bunch of leads that you want to be able to prioritize and rank and decide, do I want to nurture them? Do I want sales to act on this because they haven't converted yet? You would go for lead scoring. And then for those that are already customers, you can leverage health scoring to check the sentiment and the health of your existing customers. Yep. So health scoring is very much for post-sales, while lead scoring is pre-sales.
Cool. All right. Well, any other questions you have, Chris, before we dive into the tools themselves?
I think as we dive in, I would love to hear about the recent journey of scoring and like why, like it was a breath of fresh air when we can finally do like engagement kind of stuff. And so I think it'd be helpful for anybody that's maybe hasn't gone into why there's more complexity around the scoring and why that's a good thing and that people should lean into it. I'd love to hear the recent journey from the team about like getting to this point where we are now.
Yeah. Do you mean from when scoring used to be in properties, right? And then we got to a place where we had these two new apps, so to say.
Right. Yep.
So back when it was in properties, it was across all hubs. And while it was a really powerful tool, it tended to kind of lump everything together. So whether if it was fit, property criteria, or engagement event criteria, all of that was lumped together. And so we realized that best practices for at least lead scoring is separating your fit and your engagement. Because if you have it all lumped together and you just have a high score without being able to see the difference between the two, you might be nurturing or going after leads that are, say, like really poor fit but super high engagement, and that's not a good use of your time. Or if you see something that's like really high fit but could use a little bit more engagement, maybe you want to nurture those with a high fit. So I think that was one of the main reasons for us wanting to make that transition, is being able to separate those two dimensions. And then also, by separating those two dimensions, just adding a lot more functionality in the new tools that the old tool didn't have. Like the new tools, there's decay, there's more defined time frame and frequency and complicated associations, or being able to roll up, say, all of your contact engagement or lead engagement, if it's from the same company, being able to associate that and roll that up. So now you've got the contact engagement score and the company engagement score. But yeah, I would say for the lead scoring side, that's really what we saw. And then Ronak, if there's anything on the health scoring side you wanted to speak to.
Yeah, I guess for us, we don't separate fit and engagement because that's how customers don't really tend to think about health scores. Health scores in general, I feel like, have become very powerful because for HubSpot, we just started building this. And now we're kind of going more towards, I guess, it's a much newer, Melly, correct me if I'm wrong, health scoring is much newer than lead scoring is? Or have
they I believe they came out around the same time, but originally it was lead scoring that was built out, and then we gave a lot of that back-end capability to health scores.
Right. And this is kind of just to give the customers the power for this new scoring platform that couldn't be captured in the old property system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the new tool, I'm sure I've said this to probably everyone here already, but like I used to build properties, like I used to build multiple property scores to kind of separate the things that just happen naturally in the new tool, the way that the fit and engagement get separated. Prior to that, I would have just multiple scores, and that matrix that now gets built is beautiful and easy to understand and everything like that. All right. Should we jump into the tool?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right. So we are going to start walking through the lead scoring tool just from a life cycle standpoint. If this is your first time seeing the lead scoring tool, it is under the marketing menu in HubSpot, and it is lead scoring, or like anything in HubSpot, as the menu expands, you can also search up here for lead score, and you will see it come up under apps. All right. Melody, I am new to lead scoring. How would you tell me to get started?
Two ways. One, you can click Create Score on the top right, or you can click Create Score with AI.
How new is the Create Score with AI feature in the journey of this tool? You remember?
This
hard-hitting questions over here.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, because I know it was before I joined the team, so I wouldn't be able to give like an exact date, but I would say it's definitely been around for at least a year. The Create Score with AI, right now you can either do a separate fit or engagement score, and it does require you to have some data in your portal, right? Because the AI is analyzing like past conversion data within a certain time frame to be able to suggest rules. So right now the create score, which is more like, say, like a starting from scratch manual creation, you're going to have a lot more functionality with that, such as the combined score.
Mm-hmm. All right. So demo purposes, we can just start with the create
let's
score.
do that one.
And then obviously we've added some things here as the tools progressed. It started with just contacts and companies, and then deals was added not that long ago, as deal scoring was something people were using, and it it ended up being a gap, I feel like, for some teams as they transitioned from the property scores.
That's correct. Yeah.
If somebody were coming in here because we just bought HubSpot because we heard it does lead scoring really good, how would you help them pick which one to start with? It's based on data they already have, or maybe simplicity of setting up something to start learning from? How do you approach that conversation?
Yeah. Based on data that they already have, I would actually recommend the Create Score with AI tool. We actually do have a beta right now called High Impact URLs, which is looking at conversion data of web page visits and seeing which of your contacts or companies actually converted. And we're building on that, expanding on that for events. But for today, to answer the second part of your question, is like where to get started. I think part of that is knowing kind of starting backwards, like what type of information is your sales team going to be able to use most effectively. So if you're more B2B, then maybe the company score is going to be more helpful. You also can use contact scoring for B2B. If you're B2C, the contact score makes a lot of sense. And then for your sales team, do they want to be able to see things individually? Like, do they want to see that engagement and that fit separately? Which actually the combined score, it lets you create lets you create separate fit, engagement, and a combined score property. So you can do that. But if you really want to see it just like fully separate, you can just select between fit and engagement. And then, so I would say, like, think about the end goal, but then also think about the type of score, like how general versus specific do you need it to be? So if your sales team just needs to know how engaged is this contact or company in general, versus, hey, I want to have a score specific to like a product line or a service line that I'm prioritizing. That's another way to think about that. So I also think about like some of our really large customers, they have their marketing in HubSpot, and then their sales team is actually in Salesforce. And so they like to take the lead scores that are in HubSpot, send that information over to Salesforce. And because they're so large, they have all these different product lines. They decided, hey, I want to have a scoring model for each of my product lines so that it's really easy for my sales team to be like, oh, contact A scored really high for product X versus Y. Like, I probably should follow up on them on product X versus Y. So those are sort of the two ways I would think about it. Like, how specific do you want it to be versus more general, like, hey, as long as they're super engaged or have a high engagement score, I'm going to follow up on them. And then I'm going to determine in that sales process what makes the most sense.
Okay. So, but in both cases, it's based on the user who's going to see the score. What does that score need to be telling them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So higher the score, hopefully you've added points where the higher the score, it's indicating, yep, this is higher priority. This has a higher likelihood of converting versus the lower score or lower point value. And then on this page, my recommendation to start for people who are just beginning is actually to do a combined contact score, because in the same scoring model, you can play around with the fit, you can play around with the engagement all in the same window. And it's sometimes a little bit easier to kind of wrap your mind around the scoring framework, because with companies, you always have to think about the contact associated with the companies, or all these contacts rolling up to the company. And contacts is just like a great starting point.
Yeah, I think I tend to kind of start with the combined score a lot of times for that, because it just gives you like a little bit of a world of possibility as you get started.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So if we're creating a combined score here, do you want to talk through a little bit about kind of your next steps in this screen?
Sure. Yeah. So the way to think about a score is you have 3 layers. There's a hierarchy of 3. You've got the total score. So say if you want your scoring model to be out of 100 points, that's the score hierarchy. Then you have the groups and group hierarchy, and then the actual individual rules. So on this page, you have to decide, okay, what groups do you want to add? And the groups here, they actually represent the separate fit versus engagement score. So think of event as engagement, and then think of property as fit. Go ahead and click, Casey, if you can just click add event group as an example, just to get us started. Okay, so at the top here, you'll see the limits. So a fit score can range from, it says -100. That's because we now allow scores to go negative. Some users, they find being able to go negative is something that they need. So fit, think of out of 100 points, engagement out of 100 points. And then when you combine the two, the combined score can be as high out of 200 points. We've seen a lot of users, 100 I think is a great starting point. Some users, they have very large, complicated models where they actually need to change it to be like, I need this to be out of 500. I need this to be out of 1,000. But yeah, exactly.
I think it goes all the way to 10,000.
Oh yeah, 10,000. Exactly. So we provided that flexibility after we got a lot of requests. But yeah, so think of it as like, what's your scoring? Let's use simple numbers out of 100, right? And then from there, so you would probably want your groups to add up to 100. So say you had 2 property groups, 2 fit groups. Okay, whatever is your MQL threshold, like make sure you're adding it up. So yeah, oh, go ahead, Chris. Yep.
Can you speak to what needs to be true for it to make sense to have 10,000
yeah.
points?
We had one customer where they were scoring based on, I think it was literally like airline miles tiers or something. It was something where I remember it was like there are different tiers of like gold, platinum, silver. It really was in like the thousands. I think some of the customers I've seen that wanted more variability, so rather than out of 100, say like even out of 500, it's because it was borrowed from, say, like a previous scoring model that they were reinterpreting in this model, or they just wanted more variability. They wanted one rule to have a lot more weight than some of the other ones. Like maybe they had some rules that's just like, I just want it to be a few points, but then they have one rule, say like a demo watch, like I need that to MQL instantly. So like at 100 points when that happens. So I think it just provided a lot more range.
Okay.
Yeah. So total score, the groups, and then within the groups, you can add individual rules. So if you click add event criteria on the bottom, let's do, if you scroll down a little bit, a popular one that we see is marketing email. Yeah, we can do marketing email and then select event. Let's do clicked link in email rather than opened email because we know how open rates are.
I was like, Melody's going to start a fight with me today if she's using open email as her.
Oh no, don't worry. And actually here, just as I was saying at the score level, like how specific versus general do you want to be? If you just stop right here, this rule will give 1 point for every clicked link in an email for any of your contacts.
And up to 100 right now, basically.
Actually right now you don't have a, hold on. Sorry. So at the score level, it caps to 100. At the group level, there's no cap. One update we made, there used to be required caps at the group level, and we changed this to provide more flexibility for MQL rules. So I was talking about like, what if a demo watch is worth so many points, right? So if you wanted, let's say your MQL threshold, and actually let's go to settings really quick on the top. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have this thresholds. Perfect. Yeah, right here. So right now it's default. So your fit threshold, anything 75 and above is an A. Engagement 75 and above is a 1. So think of the letters as fit, think of the numbers as engagement. So A1, that's going to be your top fit, your top engagement.
Yeah, we often say we have an A dog and a 1 dog. Number 1 dog and then the A+ dog.
Nice.
So both of them are top.
Yes. So if you've determined that 75 and above, automatic MQL, go after that lead, then and say you have a event criteria that you've determined, yes, automatic, and like say it's like watched a demo or like booked a call. But you also have all of these other rules that you want to make sure you're like tracking. If you go back to where it says criteria, and then let's add another event group as an example. There we go. Scroll down, click add event criteria. Let's do form. Let's actually do form submission because it's like you're requesting something, right? Select. This is a form submission. Yeah, we'll do main for now. I will get into what, form submission main additional. That's a technical thing we're working on. Select a property here. And perfect. Form name. And then if there's a specific form that's really, say, like represents
book meeting.
Perfect. Okay, so here, if you change the points to add 75 points, perfect. Okay, and there's no group limit. This is going to bring your score all the way up. Like you don't have to worry about, without the cap, you don't have to worry about this particular rule getting capped by other scoring rules. So say you had other scoring rules that was like this web page visit or this email clip, etc. In the past, when we had these group limits, it would cap things, and then you would have such an important rule just get capped and sort of outweighed by the other rules. So that's why we have these different scoring groups, and why we make those group limits. Either you can set it or you can make it optional. So actually, yeah, this is a perfect example. So go for it, Casey.
Well, like I wouldn't want to give 100 points if all anyone ever did was click emails.
Exactly. Yes.
So
this
that's
really
why
allows you to. Exactly. This allows you to provide that weighting. So it's like you don't want someone who's clicking an email link 75 times to MQL, right? You want to limit it. You want to track all of it, but you can limit it. But you want someone who's booking a demo with you to MQL and reach those 75 points.
I also just want, go ahead.
If it's a very specific action, like a form fill for a demo, why wouldn't that action just move it to MQL? And why do people like to use the score as like a bridge to get there?
It's a great question. When you say move it to MQL, do you mean like label it some sort of way versus giving it a score value?
So if there's a workflow that
like the life cycle stage,
the life cycle stage,
I'm assuming is MQL, and we want it to move into that, and then the team sees a list of MQLs. Why wouldn't that activity of the form, instead of making the score push it,
Yeah.
Right. Just directly, do it.
Yeah. Great question. I think there's definitely a lot of value. Like, here's my segment or list of people that have MQL, but then say you've got 10, 20 MQLs. Who should sales or marketing prioritize first? And that's where scoring comes in. It provide with a point value and being able to see what other rules or criteria they were able to get points for. You could see, oh, okay, maybe this one person is 75, but the other person is 82 because they engaged with a few other things, or maybe they've got a slightly higher fit. So like they're an enterprise lead versus more of a starter lead. So that really is where lead scoring comes into play, is leveraging the raw point value or that absolute point value so that you can prioritize and rank across all of your leads.
Okay. That makes sense.
That was a good answer. Chris is like, all right.
I mean, what we're starting to understand, because we talk about things like a unified customer view, it's like, why has it been so hard to do scoring well? Right. And I think a part of that is trying to build everything into the score.
Mm-hmm.
When if you just like put the score in any kind of format right next to some other context in the system, like maybe that's a better way of presenting it to the person. So in your explanation made sense, because I'm imagining like an MQL board with scores right next to it. And then if those scores like help tell more of the story besides it's just an MQL, like that's why you would kind of put it in both places.
Yeah. I also just don't want to like get too far without saying this score every time element. I think I've been using this tool for long enough now that I have grown used to that. But when we used to have scoring in the property, we would have to do things like, say, number of marketing emails opened was equal to 1 point, was equal to 2 points, and then like so on for however long you needed to get to, if you wanted to do that to 10 or whatever. So just like, if you have not looked at the new scoring tool, if you have not looked at scoring since it lived in the properties, like this alone is like one of the biggest upgrades in my opinion from like what I used to do. And every time I am able to just say score every time, I do like think that was crazy that I used to have to break it out like that.
Yeah. I would say some of the features on this screen right here, just for the engagement scoring, some of them are kind of cousins to each other. And what I mean by that is, so that's another new feature here is decay. Decay is technically a cousin of time frame, because if you click decay and turn it on, and let's say reduce by 50% every 3 months, great. What you would probably do is change the point value here, but it actually will do decimals as well until it's fully decayed. So here you can just turn on decay and not think about it, and it will decay every time this event happens from when it happens. It also takes into account historical data. And so say you're turning on your lead score for the first time and you have a contact that clicked a link in an email 3 months ago. So they would get that point, but today it actually would be half a point because it's been 3 months. So that's another powerful thing about this, is that it really is looking at all of your data in real time and also taking into account that historical data. And what I mean by decay and time frame being cousins, now if you turn off decay, say you wanted to think about giving points based on a time frame, so like within a certain number of days. Sure, 7 days. So here, that same example I mentioned, how they haven't clicked a link in an email in the past 7 days, they don't get any points. But say they clicked again today, what is it, February 26th, Thursday. So they clicked it today, great, they get 1 point. But as soon as 7 days pass, from today, that 1 goes to 0. So that's what I mean by time frame and decay are kind of like cousins. And then same with add frequency and score every time. Score every time, that's for every time. And then frequency, you can be really specific about how many points do you want to give based on how often this is happening. So if you click add frequency here, perfect. Exactly 0 times, maybe if it hasn't happened at all, perhaps you want to do minus points. So that's why we added that functionality. The little plus signs, these are suggestions. So right now you have adding 1 point for exactly 2 times, and then you have exactly 5 times. Right now you have 0 points, but if you wanted to update that, the between 3 and 4 with the plus sign, that's giving you a suggestion to be like, hey, do you want to give any points for something that happens between 3 and 4 times? Otherwise, anytime a contact is doing that action that many times, they're not going to get any more points until they reach at least 5 times.
That's very cool. All right.
Can we, now that we've gotten the form and the emails out of the way, there's lots of new stuff that's available. And I'm interested in how you guys see people using social and signals. That can represent kind of this layer that everybody knew about, and it would be nice to have it in the system, but we've never had it before. And it's really complex, but now we have it. So we've got so much data available to us in HubSpot. We've got a scoring tool here, but how does it start to fit together? Because it's a lot less tangible for teams, and they're a lot less likely to have historical data to support how to bring it in. Like, how do you see teams starting to like use these newer score sources?
Yeah. So social and intent signals, those came out, I want to say mid to late last year. Social has been one that's been requested pretty regularly. So I could see customers, once they found out that social was available, they can add it. And then, so with social interaction, there's a little filter button next to that where you can get really specific. And if you select properties, this is where you can be very specific about the interaction social network. So say that's LinkedIn, actually is any of, perfect. Okay. Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. These are based on what you have integrated into your HubSpot. So you can be really specific in terms of how much points, like say, if you are a business, maybe you care more about LinkedIn interaction more than Instagram interaction. Oh, and what you have found is the conditional scoring, the and criteria. This is if you want to be super specific. Yeah. So say you care about LinkedIn specifically, if you click interaction type, there we go. Select an operator is any of, and then from here, let's say, direct message. Maybe that's like worth the most to you. You want to weigh that really high, but then you still want to give points for other types of interaction. So if you do that, and then if you still want to do LinkedIn or other forms, this is where you can just be super specific about the weights that you want to give to this type of interaction. This and condition, we've got the new tag here that came out, past few weeks, past month or so. So excited for that to come out. That's been requested pretty heavily as well. We've seen a lot of customers adopt that and do just like a simple single and. You can do multiple ands, but the most popular we've seen is just a single and.
What is reply post resource type?
If you click, we can do it from there. Select operator. Is any of. So this is the type of if it's replied to, was it replied to a post or was it replied to a comment?
So if someone commented, was it or mentioned, is that going to be the main one? Was it on a post or a comment?
I believe it should include mentions. So kind of like, so for example, today, or not today, yesterday, Casey, I know you had posted about this LinkedIn Live. And so if someone
yesterday.
replied to your, it was yesterday, there we go. If someone replied to your post, then you can give it a certain amount of points. But if they're replying to a comment within your post, then it's a different amount of points. We'll need to double check the KB, but I'm pretty sure that is the distinction.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really makes sense. And I could see the values needing to be different because basically, is the person in conversation or not?
Yeah.
Does this relate to, last year there was a massive change on being able to bring contacts in from social because you don't have email addresses, probably.
That's
Is
a
this
great
like,
question.
as you guys are building this out in that aspect of like, okay, it's a whole new channel that is bringing contacts in and we won't have emails, like how have you guys been thinking about that in terms of like that aspect of making sure people understand contacts that are coming in via this mechanism? Do people use this to help with any deduplication that might have relied on emails to solve for that? And now we're allowing contacts that don't have emails, and we actually, like, that makes sense, right? Like, you're not always going to have an email if social is the mechanism that brings people in.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great question. We coordinated specifically with the social product team on this, where I know that they had their own developments of being able to have an email or at least create a new contact. So I'd have to double check the latest where they're at, but the way lead scoring works is it will only score those that are actual contacts so for this contact score, it is scoring the contact object. So as long as that contact does have an email associated with it, you're able to score on the social media interaction of it. And I think as that team or the data team, as they continue to refine being able to pair like the social profile and maybe that contact with like the true contact, being able to, as you said, dedupe, that merging that will combine the data, and the scoring data will be accurate.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here for most folks that are super active on social, and but it's fairly complex. So understanding what signals you're trying to see based on social activity, there's a lot of layers here, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to give enough time to health scoring as well. But to answer your other question on the intent signals, those intent signals, for intent signals, you do need to set up which companies or which profiles that you want to be tracking. But as long as you have that set up ahead of time and that data is coming in, we're able to score on those intent signals and that data just at a more granular level. Because I know on the intent signal side, they do like count. I believe it's like out of 7. And then here, if you wanted to provide weighting for those different events, you're able to do that in scoring.
Yeah, and some of the contacting company like intent stuff is cool, like VC funding and everything like that. Pretty cool.
Yep. So this maps to their data, and you can just be more specific about it in your scoring model.
All right. Yeah, let's hop over to the health scoring just so we make sure we cover it all. But definitely some great stuff in here. And then one thing I really like is the ability to score all contacts or just score specific contacts as well as exclude. I know one way people were commonly using negatives in the previous scoring properties was just to exclude people. So you would say negative 100 if they have hard bounced and things like that. But now you don't have to do that. You just don't score them. So cool stuff. All right. So the scoring tool lives in the marketing menu. The lead scoring tool lives in the marketing menu. However, customer success scoring lives in the settings of your account. So if you go to settings here, and then all the way at the bottom, customer success, and then you'll see health scores, which I don't have a service seat in that portal, so we're going to switch portals. And do this somewhere I can. So similar to with Melody, anyone that's getting started with health scoring, do you have any advice on kind of where to get started or what to start looking at first?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing with health scoring is you kind of want to know from beforehand, like what are main drivers of customer retention and make customers either are at risk or healthy. So that could be such as like usage, NPS sentiments. So if anything, actually, if you press the create a score button, it will bring you to a template. So first, before you do that, you can just see which scores or which list of customers you want to be scoring. So you can score all companies. If you have certain segmentations that you want to look at, such as like strategic accounts, where you can say create new segment. You could look at SMBs. You can create a lot of different types of scorings because success looks different for each type of account. But from there, when you go to calculations, these are kind of like, from a bunch of customer research, we've seen that these are typical drivers of either churning or high customer high customer health. So basically from that, like if you don't know where really to get started, this is a really helpful template. And then from there, you can kind of iterate onto it by either doing the take me to setup, or if you already kind of know from what works best for your company, and like you already have customer data that kind of talks about, or you already know like typical things that make a customer churn, and none of these really are of interest to you, you can of course just do start from scratch, and then from there, that's where you can go and build.
Yeah, I like that in the health score, like it just, because if I click take me to setup and I have all these selected, it kind of just drops some rules based on all of those right in. And these are just based on, is this based on best practice or is this based on my data?
This is just based on best practice, like based on what's already there. And also when you are thinking of starting your customer or starting to build a health score, we also recommend talking to your CSMs if you don't know what your main drivers of success are. And they will be also involved in setting this up. But the template also really helps. And yeah, but we only use the default properties in the template, no custom properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the structure of this is very similar to what we were just looking at in the lead score.
Yes.
Where, you know, you have the additions and subtractions. The score is just to 100 though here, is that correct?
Yeah, with customer success health scores, this is kind of like the industry standard, is 0 to 100.
But you're able to add and subtract and edit in a similar way.
Yeah, and also if you click the association settings, yeah, right there. There are multiple ways with all these different scorings to kind of play with the score. So typically right now we're looking at summation. So it'd be like if you have like a +5 and then a -2, like it'd be 3. But then if you go to the where it says aggregation.
Sorry.
There you go.
Wrong button.
If you have like +5, -2, +1, you don't only have to do a summation of those. You can also average all those scores to, if that's something that is interested of you, or you can also look at the min or max out of those different events.
And that's with the company, because
Yeah.
the health scores live on the contact records specifically.
Yeah. And unlike lead scoring, the health, there's a cap at the bottom and top for 0 to 100. It can never go below 0 or above 100. And they,
but you have the and condition similar to the lead score, and those groups in a similar way too.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what so you have these standard ones. So then outside of this, I'm guessing when we start looking at some of the records here, it's what other people use might go into like what their custom what custom properties they might be keeping.
Right. And there's also same with custom events. Like, for example, you can create for a custom event for like logins for something. So if you're like, hey, I want to look at, I don't know if you have that created as a custom event there, but if it's like a login, for example, you want to see how many times someone logged in to determine usage right now. So you could do like high usage is like clicking more than or logging in more than twice in a period of a week versus like 0 logins in the period of a week, kind of using the same time frame that Melody was talking about. So that's like one way to implement a custom event.
Yeah, Chris, we probably should add logins as a custom event. That would be a good one to have. But I also see like a lot of the same events as are available in the scoring tool. So like even looking at the intent signals that we were just talking about, which, you know, I can definitely see, like, Chris, we were looking earlier this week at some of this in like a prospecting component, but a lot of this might matter a lot in a health perspective too. I know, layoffs is one. You know, if you're seeing layoffs at a company, that may be a positive or negative signal, depending on what your business is, and things like that as well.
Right.
So is the suggestion that even if we're trying to expand like into the current customer base, we're able to rely on health scoring exclusively, and we shouldn't like create lead scores for opportunities that might exist in the customer base? Or are we trying to put those together in some kind of story that says there's opportunity with current customers? Like, I think that's my challenge right now. If I see a lot of the same scoreability over here, like I might personally just try to like break it and say like, I'm not going to worry about lead scores at all. And now I can create like a score for the relationship, no matter where they are in the journey.
Like post-sales and pre-sales, you mean?
Right. Like, because if I think health score, that can be whether you're a customer or not, like I'm interested in the health of the relationship. And I'm wondering, one, if you're seeing anybody do that, but two, if there's a reason like outside of separate teams need to see separate things. Like if we can consolidate that into one scoring system, I feel like that would be really like easier to maintain on some level.
Okay, yeah, that is definitely something. I guess it depends. Like if you want separate fit and engagement scoring, then it is best to use lead scoring. And also like which team is going to, it depends on which team is who's going to use the score. And if the customer success teams are responsible for expansion, then it probably is best to create a health score that's focused on expansion. But the reason there is also so much similarity that you're seeing here is that Melanie and like her team, they're kind of in charge of both ends of the back end engineering for it. So we kind of are we are using the same engineering to build off of, and then we can kind of go separate ways for features that fit best for health scoring versus lead scoring, which is why you do see a lot of the similarity. But yeah.
And health scoring natively like sits in the help desk or customer success workspace, correct?
Yeah.
So that might be a reason that you would choose this, is because of just like how it natively works in the workspaces.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also just the customer success workspace.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
help desk.
But if your team is working in the customer success workspace specifically, that might be a benefit. Yeah.
I actually have a follow-up question for what Chris just asked. Score, having like, why is it separate, lead, health? And I know that Rana gave a pretty helpful response there in terms of like depends on really like which strength of the two you want to use, who's the user that's using it. But I'm curious, is there a specific use case where you're seeing like this kind of live just like a single scoring space, or like would that be more, say, an ops role? I'm just curious to understand a little bit more there.
So I think like one of the reasons it's been challenging for like a lot of customers to be effective with scoring is they don't look at it from the relationship perspective, and they think about it from like, especially on the lead scoring side, there's a lot of wishful thinking that goes into like how we score things and what we want to be true versus what actually is the valuable thing that actually happened, and create situations where sales sees one side of the world and marketing's seeing another side of the world, and it just creates a lot of complexity that has to be explained, and usually like it's not explained very well, right? Versus on the health scoring side, and the reason I like starting over there is like it's real data, right? It's starting with black and white data that we know versus bringing a bunch of data in from another system and then trying to score demographic like and fit data. So like when we started the conversation earlier, and these are like health score doesn't separate them because that's how customers usually think about health score, right? Like should we separate lead scores in that way if that I could talk about this for a while and I'm rambling, but like that's where I'm coming from in terms of simplifying the situation, and like especially for teams to align on what engagement scoring means as an example, right? And so is it either better to have a contact record, like if expansion is the goal, right? And whoever is looking at the contact record needs to be aware of a level of engagement or the story that's being told by the scores. Is it better to have a couple of health scores or one health score and a lead score like sitting right next to each other? I think there's a lot of opportunity to curate contact records with existing cards, right? And just put those things next to each other, as opposed to trying to build all the complexity into the score itself. So that's why I'm super curious about a traditionally challenging situation where we know that we could be selling more to the customer base, and we have a hard time seeing it, right? That's where I really like seeing this together in terms of like, yes, all of the initial 5 scores that came in, like best practice as far as usage and engagement as a customer, but then adding social and intent signals outside of that, right? Then provides a new layer of, maybe this department is interested, like they should be buying this product, but we've never had access to that department. Now they're showing a signal in this place. What is an effective way to bring that into context that they are a current customer? It's not just some lead score sitting over here that the team's going to go and like try to engage without knowing that we have a really solid relationship and probably should approach it differently. right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could see that really looking at the engagement or that scoring at a holistic way versus having that harder line between lead and health scoring. I think, yeah, lead scoring, we very much, at least from my experience, a lot of the sales users, they're going into the contact cards or looking at that the history of like, okay, what are all the actions they took, or what are all the rules that were met, the criteria met that drove this score. And I believe you can also add the health score cards next to lead score, but that is very much at the individual contact level. So like, is there something at a more aggregate or broader level? Is there an opportunity to be able to see that context in a more holistic and easier way, because there'll be like placed side by side.
Right.
Nice.
And if we are able to align that, we start to get, like, there's a lot of forecasting value to be able to see lead scores and lead engagement and even fit, and then start matching that with health scores in terms of like, yeah, maybe the most high engaged people, like they have time to engage, but by the time they get to our product, they're not using it a lot. And so it's not the most profitable customer. Right. Like this happens on LinkedIn, especially like the best customers can't always show it on LinkedIn, but once you get them into a conversation, now they're some of the most profitable customers, right? Being able to take these new layers of signals and start to apply it across the whole process and start to draw insights from it. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Nice. It's really good feedback. Thank you, Chris.
Yep. My pleasure.
All right, we are coming up on time. Any final advice from anyone about setting up scores, getting in there, testing it out, things like that? Did we cover it all?
I think we. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ronak. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think for first-time users with the scoring, I think one piece of advice that I've gotten, or I've seen that has helped a lot, is giving scores time, because since it is so much live data, like it is like a little confusing to see what is working and what is not working. And the best thing really to do is just give it like a couple of weeks to let it run, to see and check. Like, say you do have an account that you are 100% sure that is at risk or is very healthy, and just like checking, seeing what your scoring rules and seeing how those line up and how close they are to lining it up. Because at the end, there is no 100% right way to do it standard wise. It's based on the company in each account that you have. So one thing to really make sure that you feel confident in your scoring is to make sure you give it some time to let the data pull up and see how it's working.
Yeah. +1 to that, and also remember knowing to come back and update your score. Like, yes, it's great that you've started it, you've turned it on, but come back and see, hey, is there other criteria that we should be considering? Or as you're connecting with sales, of like what really drove conversion, and be able to keep those scoring models up to date. One goal of that we're trying to do as a team or as a product team is how can we better facilitate that, so it's not as much of a manual update. But still, I think it's a great conversation to have between marketing, sales, customer success, and being able to refine your scoring model. And then, of course, once you turn it on, think about all the places that you can leverage that score. So whether that's you want to go and create a segment for a marketing campaign, oh, that's right, I can use the score here. Or, oh, let me create a bunch of automations based on if they're A1 versus B2. Like, how do I be able to utilize this as part of my work stream, right? But yeah, no, I think Ronak and I, we gave a good overview for the beginning users, but of course, super happy for any other feedback or any questions, any guidance we can provide.
Yeah, cool. This was super helpful. And we appreciate you guys a lot for taking the time to unbox it with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much. All right. And until next time, until the next unboxing.
Sounds good.